The Winnipeg Jets were one of the more disappointing teams in the NHL last season, missing the playoffs despite having a fairly talented roster. In this video, we're going to take a look at 3 Jets players that I think need to step up if Winnipeg is going to change their tune and change their fortune this coming season. And these guys can play a big role in helping the Jets get back into playoff contention. So let's get started here and let's take a look. Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at 3 Winnipeg Jets players that I think need to step up this season if the Jets are going to get back on the right track and back in the playoff hunt. They were a fairly disappointing team last year, missing the playoffs by 8 points. And just not a good vibe around that team last season. Never seemed like they were really even close to being a playoff team. And they are definitely too talented of a roster to have that feeling around them. They should be in the playoff hunt. They should be a team that is capable of possibly getting into the postseason. So these 3 players, in my opinion, are really going to have to step up this year, have good seasons, and really try and help this team and pull it in the right direction. First up, to start off, and this is a very, very obvious and easy one, it is their captain, Blake Wheeler. He was not good enough last year. He only played 65 games. His point totals weren't bad, but his overall play all over the ice was not nearly good enough. He wasn't a good enough leader. He wasn't very good in the locker room. And it all comes back. I mean, he's the guy wearing the C. This guy has to be a main driver for this team, and he wasn't driving them in the right direction last season. That needs to change this year. He's 35 years old. He'll be 36 by the time the season starts. Right winger for the team. Obviously a veteran guy, very important player for them. And last season, he was limited to just 65 games. He had 17 goals and 43 assists for 60 points, which really isn't that bad points-wise. But he was minus 15, and more than just point totals, but his overall game has got to be so much better. His 200-foot game has got to be so much better this coming season. He's got to be a lot better defensively, and his leadership needs to be a lot better. He wasn't good enough last year in the leadership department. There was a lot of rumblings around Winnipeg that he was actually more of a problem in the locker room and has been a bit of an issue from that perspective. And you cannot have the captain of your team being a locker room problem. They're supposed to be a locker room leader. And you got to look for him to be at least a point per game player next season. He's got to stay healthy and play most of the year, but he has got to be a top 6 forward for them. And somebody who produces like that and plays a strong game all over the ice and is a strong leader in the locker room. So I think it all starts for Winnipeg with Blake Wheeler being one of their top guys. If he's not a good to great player for them, they're going to struggle. If he is a great player for them, they're much more likely to be a playoff level team. Completely switching the ends of the spectrum here, we've got a very, very young player here at number 2, and that is Cole Perfetti. He's a 20-year-old forward, very versatile player, really can play all 3 forward positions. And he got his first real taste of the NHL last season playing 18 games, but he is going to have to be a big producer and play a big role in a significant role all season long for the Winnipeg Jets this season. I think there's going to be a lot of, I don't want to necessarily say pressure, but there's going to be a lot of importance placed on, can Cole Perfetti come in and be a top 6 player right away, in what presumably will be his first full NHL season. And they're going to need some serious production out of him. I think he has a chance to really add to this offense, make them a more dynamic team offensively, make them better on the power play, and really add to this team's scoring ability. And if he can do that, I think that's going to make the Winnipeg Jets a better team overall. If he kind of isn't able to do that, kind of flounders around a little bit in his first full year, then, this team could find themselves pretty much where they were last year. I think that he's going to be an important player for them. He, again, just 20 years old. He played 18 games last season with the Jets, had 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points, and was a +1. But had some injury issues. Also played 17 games in the AHL. Biggest thing for him this year is to solidify his NHL role. He should not be playing any AHL games this year. He should be a constant in the Jets lineup and really solidify himself as a very important player for this team. I think he needs to be a top 6 player for this team. Top 9 bare minimum. He's got to play some sort of significant role. And I look for him to be around 50 points this year. I think if he can get around that 50-point mark, then that is going to be a good amount of production for a player in his role and at his age. And that's going to be very beneficial for the Jets as a team if they can get somewhere around 50 points out of Cole Perfetti. If he does better than that, great. If he's down like below 40 or something like that, then that's going to be a little bit of a red flag and probably a problem for Winnipeg from an offensive standpoint. But if he can get around 50 points, I think that that will be solid from Cole Perfetti in what will presumably be his first full NHL season. And replace Stastny's offense. Paul Stastny quietly had a pretty solid year for the Jets last season. He had over 20 goals. He had over 40 points. Veteran guy. He's no longer with Winnipeg. He signed with the Carolina Hurricanes this offseason as a free agent. So while I don't think Perfetti is going to directly replace Stastny as far as roster spot in the offense, I don't think Perfetti's going to be the third-line center. I think they're either going to put him on the wing and put him in the top 6 is my bet. Just from a production standpoint of having those 44 to around their points, he needs to replace Stastny's offense for this team and hopefully maybe even go a little bit above it. Again, if he hits 50 points, then he goes above what Stastny gave them last season offensively. And I certainly think that Cole Perfetti is capable of doing that. So this is going to be a very big year for him. And he, I think, is going to have a lot of say in how this season goes for Winnipeg, especially offensively. And finally, we've got to look to the goal crease. Connor Hellebuyck. Now, I am not saying that Connor Hellebuyck is responsible for the Jets being disappointing last season and not making the playoffs and all of that, because the team in front of him was certainly not good enough. They need a lot more out of that team in front of him. But Connor Hellebuyck also definitely wasn't Connor Hellebuyck last season. Not the guy that we're used to seeing. I mean, this is a player that won the Vezina Trophy in 2020 as the best goaltender in the NHL and has been pretty widely talked about as a guy who's a franchise goalie and at times a top 5 goaltender in the league. He did not have top 5 goaltender in the league numbers last season. He did not have that kind of play last season. He's 29 years old now, still right in the prime of his career. He only went 29, 27, and 10 last year with a 2.97 goals against average. And the most alarming stat, in my opinion, was his save percentage was down to 910 last year. Listen, wins very much a team stat more so than a goaltender's individual stat. Even goals against largely is affected by the team in front of you. But save percentage is what I look at, to really see, okay, how did he individually play as a goaltender? Was he stopping a lot of shots coming his way and the team in front of him just wasn't very good? Or, what was the deal there? 910 is a very meh save percentage in the NHL, and certainly not a save percentage that you normally would see from a guy who's thought of as one of the best goalies in the league. So Connor Hellebuyck, while the team in front of him certainly did him no favors last season, also does need to get a little bit better himself and need to get back to being that franchise goalie that everyone knows Connor Hellebuyck is capable of being. I'm looking for that save percentage to get back up around 920 this coming season. It was over 920 the year that he won the Vezina, and he's certainly capable of doing that. But look for a much better save percentage from Connor Hellebuyck this season, and if he can do that, the Jets are going to win more games, and they're going to have a better chance of making the playoffs. And that goals against that was almost at 3 last year needs to come down to somewhere around 2.5 goals against per game. You know, it doesn't have to be there exactly, but somewhere around there. That is a improvement from the 2.97 last year. And Winnipeg is not going to make the playoffs without Connor Hellebuyck winning over 30 games. And honestly, with David Rittich now as the backup, which I don't love, in all likelihood, Hellebuyck is probably going to have to win at least 35 games for the Jets to make the playoffs, because I don't really see David Rittich winning more than 10. And Hellebuyck is a guy that is a workhorse and plays a large majority of the games over the course of the season. So Rittich probably isn't going to get in too many, maybe 20 or so games for David Rittich. Hellebuyck is going to play the rest, which puts him over 60. And he's going to have to win over 30 games, if not 35, for this team to have a chance to make the playoffs. So let's see if Connor Hellebuyck can get back to being Vezina level Connor Hellebuyck. So there you have it, everybody. Those are 3 players for the Winnipeg Jets that I think can play a big role in this team getting back into the playoff picture and really contending for a playoff spot next season if they have good seasons. And there's a lot of players on the Jets that need to be better than they were last year. Again, Winnipeg was a disappointing team, and really there was plenty of blame to go around. They've got a new coach this year, and they're going to be relying on their leaders to come in and really get them back on track. Blake Wheeler is the captain, definitely. Connor Hellebuyck in goal. It wasn't his fault last year, but he does need to be better and get back to those, top 5 goalie level numbers that we're used to him having. And I think a young player like Cole Perfetti has a chance to really make an impact offensively and push this team to that next level. So those are 3 guys in my mind. There are certainly more, but those 3 stood out that could really have a big impact on how this season goes for the Jets. And if they're going to get back into the playoff picture and back into the playoff discussion, those 3 guys are going to have good seasons. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our merchandise store, membership, and donations down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys soon.